some more Umineko When Seagulls Cry. Let us continue.
やれやれ。今日の日中が嘘のようだぜ。
Okay, well, I guess I was wrong with my guess. And it is actually the cousins. Maybe we'll get George's parents afterwards. Anyway, continuing on. George, Anarchy, and I were killing time in front of a parlour television. At that point, Jessica returned. Her face was still blank, but it looked like she'd calmed down a little since he'd last seen her.
マリアはまだ肖像画前？
いや、さっき戻ってきて、今はそっちのソファーで寝てるぜ。マリアにはもう遅い時間だもんな。
Looking at the clock, I saw it was a little past 10 p.m. Even if we were planning to stay up all night, it was about time to head back to our room.
一応うちのお袋が屋敷にも部屋を用意してくれたんだけどよ。どうする？
僕はゲストハウスに戻りたいかな。親たちの様子を見る限り、僕たちはお屋敷にいない方がいいと思う。
俺も同感だぜ。子供は邪魔せず引っ込んでろって感じみてえだからな。おとなしくそうするさ。
As we were talking about this, Aunt Rosa came into the parlour. She was looking all over restlessly, probably trying to find Maria.
ローザおばさん。マリアならそこのソファーっすよ。
Especially after losing her once already.
ありがとう。すっかり眠っちゃってるわね。ベッドに移さないと。
よかったら僕がベッドまで背負っていきましょうか。
ありがとう。助かるわ。ジョージ君たちはゲストハウスに戻るの？それとも夏日姉さんが用意してくれた部屋に泊まるのかしら？
今話し合ってました。ゲストハウスへ戻ろうかって話になったところです。
そう。ならマリアも一緒にしてあげてもいいかしら。いとこのみんなと一緒の方がきっと安心できると思うしね。
Behind those words, she seemed to be concealing some regret that the adults, herself included, had deeply hurt Maria's feelings.
任してくださいよおばさん。何しろこっちにゃマリアをあやすことに関してはエキスパートがいるっすからね。
それは僕のことかい？僕だけじゃ無理だよ。みんなでだよ。
そうだぜ。バトラだってあんなにもマリアと意気投合してふざけ合ってたじゃねえかよ。
As he said this, Aunt Rosa smiled, looking truly happy.
みんなありがとう。私たちの話し合いはだいぶ遅くまでかかりそう。だから申し訳ないけどマリアをみんなにお願いするわ。
おーいマリア、熟睡か？ゲストハウスに戻るぞ。
Maria muttered something indistinct, rolled over, and fell back asleep. It looked like she was sleeping deeply.
すっかり寝込んじゃったようだぜ。起こすのは悪いな。
うん、僕が背負うよ。
With an umbrella, I guess, to shield her from the rain. Anyway, Maria's body was much lighter than it looked. I lifted her up and put her on George Aniki's back. It was raining hard outside, and Aniki couldn't hold an umbrella and carry Maria at the same time. It looked like Aunt Rosa would come with us as far as the guest house to help out. However, when she heard Uncle Kraus's voice call out to her, she had no choice but to return.
困ったわね。
Ooh, so we're gonna get another round of adult discussions, I'm guessing?
もう戻らないと。
I'm guessing we're gonna go back to the guest house, have a bit of talk, and then do the adult discussions.
皆さんゲストハウスまでお戻りですか？
After we left the hall, on the way to the entrance, the door to the servant room opened and Shannon-chan stepped out.
だいぶ暗くなっておりますので、私がご案内させていただきます。
Oh, how nice of you.
ちょうどよかったわ、シャノンちゃん。ジョージ君がマリアをおぶっていてくれるの。傘をさしてあげてくれないかしら。はい、かしこまりました。
Shannon-chan brought umbrellas for each of us and a flashlight to guide the way. As we opened the front door, the downpour was quite terrific. It looked like we wouldn't have any spare time to take a pleasant walk and enjoy the nighttime rose garden.
兄貴、重くねえか？俺が背負うぜ。
大丈夫だよ。マリアちゃんくらい背負えるよ。
本当にありがとうね。マリアをよろしくお願い。
わかりました。じゃあおやすみなさい、おばさん。
それではお送りしてまいります。ええ、よろしく。
Aunt Rosa watched us leave.
マリア、いつもごめんね。
Rosa's mumbling voice didn't reach the person in question, nor any of the kids, but disappeared beneath the sound of the rain. After cutting through the rainy rose garden, he arrived at the guest house.
俺がマリアを背負って立候補すりゃよかったぜ。
Being next to Shannon,
そうすりゃ傘を差してくれるシャノンちゃんのでっけえお乳を二の腕でたっぷり堪能できたってのによ。
you can't see it right now, but I am face palming. Ah dear.
そんなつもりじゃないよ。誤解だよ。
そうしないとジョージ様が濡れてしまうと思いまして。
ほーら、バカなこと言ってないで入るぜ。
After being urged on by Jessica, we folded up our umbrellas and went into the guest house.
お召し物を濡らしてしまった方はいらっしゃいませんか？タオルを用意いたしますが。
そこまで気を使わなくていいぜ。ありがとよ、シャノンちゃん。
そうだ。僕たちはこれからトランプでもして少し遊ばないかって話なんだけど、よかったら少し一緒しないかい？
あれ、今日のシフト、深夜勤は誰になってんだ？
親族会議中は特別シフトになってたと思いました。少し変更も出てるみたいなので、ちょっと確認してきます。
ああ、わざわざ屋敷に戻らないとわからないんなら無理に。
大丈夫です。ゲストハウスの使用人室でわかりますので。
Uh-huh.
ちょっと失礼しますね。
Shannon-chan gave a quick bow and went into the guest house servant room. The rest of us headed for the cousin's room and decided to put Maria to bed for the time being. Maria was sleeping very deeply, and there was absolutely no sign of her eyes opening. For now, we'd get some soft drinks out of the room's refrigerator and drink those while playing cards or something.
あれ、カノン君、源氏様までこちらに。
All of the furniture servants.
今夜のシフトはどうなっているのでしょうか。
クラウス様の命令があってね、シフトの大掛かりな変更があったんだよ。
Now that's suspicious.
ゴーダがお屋敷の深夜勤に変更になった。シャノンとカノンはゲストハウスの深夜勤。私と熊沢はゲストハウスに泊まるようにとのご命令だ。
Now that is really suspicious. Let me just check. So yeah, that's 4 out of the 5 servants ordered to be in the guest house, and the only servant left in the main residence is the one which Kraus and Natsuhi specifically hired. And you also have what's his name? Rudolph, thinking he's going to die tonight. Kraus? What?
お前も今夜はこのままこちらにとどまるよう。たった今電話があった。
Suspicious much?
ずいぶん大掛かりな変更ですね。
A sizable change and tonight of all nights.
お屋敷とゲストハウスの当番がまるっきり逆になってるじゃないですか。
Originally, Shannon-chan and Kan had been assigned to the night shift in the mansion, while the night shift in the guest house, where all of the relatives were staying, had been assigned to Golda, who had an abundance of experience in entertaining. Okay, fine then. Since everyone's staying... Well, on the other hand, since everyone except from the cousins is staying at the mansion, that's all the more reason to have more people and more servants in the mansion to cover for them. And does Kraus necessarily have the authority? I suppose he probably does. But to move, like the servants loyal to Kinzo. Kumasawa should have been sleeping at the guest house, while Genji should have been sleeping in the mansion. However, it seems that Kraus had suddenly ordered that the schedule be modified. Shifts of the guest house and mansion had all been reversed, and Genji was spending the night in the guest house.
多分ベアトリーチェ様の手紙のせいだろうね。
多分ってどうして？
あんな怪しげな手紙が現れたら、クラウス様が僕たちを疑うのは当然だからね。親方様直属の僕たちを極力親族会議の席から遠ざけたかったんだろうよ。
Genji, Shannon, and Kanon were all permitted to wear the Ushuramiya family crest, the one-winged eagle, as the servants who served directly under Kinzo. Of course, since they were working for the Ushuramiya family, they had to obey anyone's orders, but their only boss was Kinzo. Since only Kinzo held the right to employ them, even Kraus could not have him dismissed of his own accord. Because of this, Kraus and the others often viewed these servants as Kinzo's underlings and shunned them. And in fact, Kinzo seldom let anyone other than them enter his study. This sudden shift change was probably a clear expression of the sense of mistrust that had caused. Considering the time Kinzo had left to live, this would definitely be the last family conference before the problem of inheritance came up. On top of that, the mysterious letter that claimed to be from Beatrice had dropped in out of the blue. Kraus definitely wanted to keep Kinzo's loyal subjects away from the table of such a delicate and important discussion.
ではすまんが、私は向こうでくつろがせてもらう。もし何かあったらすぐに呼ぶように。今夜のお客様は特別だ。
はい、かしこまりました。源氏様。
Now, since it's guest singular and special case, he's talking about Beatrice, isn't he? Genshin nodded back, went behind a screen, took off his jacket, and slowly began to relax after a day's worth of tension.
今お戻りになられたのはお子様方。
Yeah, and another thing, before, like the shift change was made before it was even known that the cousins would actually be staying at the guest house. It was entirely possible that everyone would be at the mansion, except from almost all of the servants.
親族の方々はお屋敷で会議を。だいぶ長引きそうな雰囲気だったかな。
なら気楽だね。これ以上の深夜になって、しかもこの天気。多分親族の皆さんはお屋敷の方のお部屋にお泊まりさ。
多分ね。源氏様がいないから言うけど、ゲストハウス行きになってちょっと嬉しかったかな。
ふん、どうしてだい？意地悪な奥様やエヴァ様から離れられたから？それとも 別の理由があるのかい？
別の理由なんか
Yeah, she definitely has another reason.
ありません。
そっか。なら二人で深夜勤を頑張ろう。よろしく姉さん。
私ついさっきお子様方にお部屋で遊ばないかとお呼ばれしてて。
Shannon hung her head apologetically, gazing at Cannon uncertainly. Cannon didn't try to meet her eyes and spoke curtly as he sighed. It looked like he didn't plan on indulging his sister.
ダメだよ。深夜勤を仰せつかってる。それに僕たち家具には遊びのお誘いは必要ない。
Yeah, she's definitely different from the other quote-unquote furniture.
わかるね。
そんなこと分かってます。
She has her own goals and intentions and everything. Shannon's shoulders drooped slightly. She had already expected that Cannon, a stickler for rules, would say something like that, but she still seemed a little discouraged. As Cannon flipped through a logbook, he spoke without facing Shannon.
ならお子様方お待たせしてしまってるね。深夜勤に当たってしまったからご一緒できないと謝ってこなきゃ。行ってきなよ。
So what does the night shift for guest house involve then? If not catering to the needs of the guests.
私謝ってくるね。
Shannon hurriedly stood from her seat before her brother's mood could change and flew out of the servants' room after giving a quick bow. So, about that... I can't go back in history that far. About that, another reason that you totally don't have. As he watched her go, Cannon took a single deep breath. Genji's voice came from beyond the screen.
カノン、私がここにいるからお前も行くといい。
源氏様、誘われたのはシャノンだけです。僕は別に誘われては。
その場にいなかったからお声をかけられなかっただけだ。言えばお前も誘われている。たまには子供らしく遊んでくるといい。
いえ、僕には必要ない行為です。人の子には遊びも必要でしょうが。
Wait. Human children?
僕らは家具ですから。
Okay.
そうか。
I thought he was insinuating something else there.
姉さんだって家具です。人のふりをしたって後で苦しむだけなのに、僕はそれが分かっているから人に近づきたくないだけなんです。
Genji did not say anything after that. After a while, he stood up and used a pot of hot water to make powdered cocoa, serving some to Cannon as well.
そりゃ本当かよ。そりゃ知らなかったぜ。
Wow.
バカ、声が大きいぜ。マリアが起きちゃうだろ。
Bella was so surprised that he yelled obnoxiously and scattered his cards everywhere. His voice caused Maria to turn over once, but she soon fell back into a deep sleep. Jessica gave him a jab, and he lowered his voice.
いや、しかし言われてみれば確かにそれっぽい雰囲気はあったんだよな。
Are they talking about the another reason?
なるほどな。ジョージの兄貴がな。
George couldn't be seen anywhere in the room. A short while ago, when Shannon came into the room, George suddenly said that he'd forgotten something in the mansion and needed to go back and get it. Shannon said she would guide him, just like she had on the way to the guest house, and the two of them departed together. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
いや、昔からそれっぽい気配はあったんだぜ。好きなものを聞いてきたり、趣味を聞いてきたりさ。単に関心を持つだけにしてはどうもなんて思ってたらよ。
そういや、昔っから上司の兄貴はシャノンちゃんにやたらと優しかった気がするぜ。 なるほどな。
So this is going to be George and Shannon. And back inside. Or gazebo?
天気予報によると今夜が一番ひどいみたい。明日いっぱいも止まないらしいけど、もう少しマシになるそうだよ。
そうですか。では明後日までは船は来られないかもしれませんね。
Or maybe it won't arrive at all.
ジョージ様の月曜日のお勤めに差し支えが出ないか心配です。
台風が来ていることは知っていたからね。万一に備えて月曜日には予定を入れなかったから大丈夫さ。こう見えてもスケジュールは先読みできるタイプなんだ。
George puffed out his chest, acting proud. Compared to the calm appearance George always had as the oldest cousin, he now looked amusingly like a little kid. Shannon chuckled at this abrupt contrast.
さすが、やがては会社を起こされる方はしっかりしていますね。
やっぱり会社を起こすというのは大変だね。お金とかそういうのだけじゃないものがとても大事だって。
Trust is also important.
父さんのところで勉強していてわかるよ。会社を起こすということは城を持ち部下を率いるということ。うちの父さんは秀吉って名前だけあって戦国武将のエピソードがとても好きでね。会社経営の哲学をよくそこから語るんだ。知ってるかい？戦国最強の騎馬軍団と恐れられた武田信玄も最初は部下たちの結束がバラバラで統率力をまるで発揮できなかったんだそうだよ。
そうなんですか？なんだか意外ですね。
信玄は部下たちを結束させるため数々のリーダーシップを発揮してるんだよ。例えば戦場で武功を立てた部下に対しすぐその場で褒章を与えたり、普通こういうのは戦が終わってからまとめてやるものだからね。それを戦場の本陣の中にいながらまめにやり続け、
Few promotions.
部下の武功を素早く評価しやる気につなげたというのは非常に大きいことだよ。それから部下が病気で伏せった時には誰よりも早く駆けつけお見舞いをしたとかね。武田信玄は戦国最強の騎馬軍団を率いただけじゃない、戦国一の部下思いの人だったんだよ。
そんな方だから部下の皆さんもついてきてくれたんですね。
Truth was, Shannon had already heard the story several years ago. But whenever a discussion of his father led to this sort of topic, George would always glow and look like he was having a great time. So Shannon just smiled without interrupting, urging him to continue.
確かに資本主義の世界ではお金は力で石垣の高さで回る。でもね、戦も城も自分一人じゃ成り立たない。大勢の部下に支えられ、その力を借りて初めて成立するものなんだよ。それを理解してから父さんの背中を見ると、自分がいかに未熟で父さんがどれほどの切磋琢磨をして今日を築き上げてきたかがよくわかるんだ。
ジョージ様はお父様のことをとても尊敬されているんですね。羨ましいです。
あ、ごめん。別にそういう意味で言ったんじゃないんだよ。
すみません。私も別にそういう意味で言ったつもりは。
The two of them awkwardly looked at their feet. Shannon had no parents. She'd been brought up in an orphanage owned by Kinzo, called the Fukuin House. Under the guidance of Kinzo, their honorary director, the orphanage offered members who excelled a chance for on-the-job serving experience. If their efforts met with Kinzo's approval, they'd be able to leave the orphanage and work as servants for the Oshiromiya family. This was considered to be the highest honor for those who lived in the orphanage. Servants from the Fukuin house all took names of the character on in them while they served. I see. So Shannon wasn't her real name. Same went for Cannon. All the members of the Fukuin house were orphans. At least, they were all people who had been separated from their parents under special circumstances. Because of this, the orphans had been taught to think of each other as their only family. That's why it seemed so natural to both of them when Cannon called Shannon his sister. While both Shannon and Cannon were working in the mansion today, there were several other servants possessing the "on" character in their names, such as Manon and Lennon, who often worked in a rotation schedule. However, there were not many servants who stayed with the Shoromiya family for long. It was standard for them to quit after 3 years. So you could probably say that Shannon, who had been working for 10 years, was a notable exception to the rule. Working as a servant for the Shoromiya family was a heavy burden to bear, but the pay wasn't bad at all. Working for a full 3 years would earn more than what was needed to enter mainstream society. That was why, even though the orphans realised what a harsh task working for the Shoromiya family was, they still hoped to be accepted. Maybe the fact that Shannon managed to continue working for 10 years wasn't because she had more willpower than the other servants. Maybe she'd gotten stuck working for 10 years because she didn't have the courage to say she wanted to quit. Kinzo couldn't even trust his own blood relatives. Those excellent servants sent from the Fukuin house were the only ones he could rely on. Because of that, Kinzo would sometimes allow them to wear the family crest as servants under his direct control, and have them work close to him.
もう勤めて10年近くになるんだっけ?
How old is she again? I feel like it said she was 18 or something? When did you start working?
だいぶお金も貯まったんじゃないかい?
どうでしょう。別に私、買いたいものも特にありませんし、ほんの何百万かあったって、それで残りの人生を過ごせるわけもありませんし。
目標の額があってお勤めを続けてるわけじゃないのかい?
そうですね。私はこのお屋敷以外に行くあてもありませんし、お嬢様とも他の使用人の子たちとも仲良くやれてますし。
From how she was yelling at you, it doesn't sound like you've been getting very well along with the lady.
奥様には時折お叱りを受けますけど、バラの世話やお屋敷のお掃除も楽しいですし。
でもそれはシャノンちゃんの、サヨちゃんの人生じゃない。
Shannon cast her eyes downward when she heard her real name. She understood what George was trying to say and fell silent.
僕は成人し、社会人になってからも勉強して分かったことがある。子供の頃、僕らが思っていたほど人生は単調で短くないんだ。
All school-age kids have certain fears they can't shake. They wonder whether they'll live the rest of their lives like sleepy classes after a monotonous and boring school day, spending their time in a carefree laziness without anything interesting happening until it's all over. However, life's only like that for underage students. Compared to a human's life, the time they spend as students is nothing more than a blink of the eye, a period where they break through the shells of their immaturity. The inside of the shell might be a hot, suffocating and boring world, but the world beyond that shell is vast and filled with limitless possibilities.
君の人生はまだシャノンという殻の中でしかないんだ。君は自分の人生がこの生活のままずっと続いていくと勘違いしてるんじゃないかな。
それは。
Shannon couldn't deny those words. She'd been unable to harbour any clear doubts about her lifestyle, and since she never had any hope or goals for changing herself, she'd lazily continued living the way she always had. And if asked whether this life was satisfying, she wouldn't have been able to nod. She may have been intentionally averting her eyes from the truth. Without George's admonishment, she would have continued pretending not to notice as her real life slipped away, bit by bit, neglected.
ジョージ様、私はこのままでいてはいけないのでしょうか。
いけないよ。あ、それから今、ルール違反が一つあったね。
Oh? George immediately gave a strict answer and broke out into a mischievous smile. Shannon already knew what she was being chided for, and she hung her head again, apparently embarrassed.
僕たちしかいないときは、様はなしの約束だよ。
Oh?
約束では聞けません。ですが、ご命令でしたら聞かないわけにはいきません。私は家具ですから。
じゃあ、命令だよ。
But she's smiling afterwards.
はい、かしこまりました、ジョージさん。
As Shannon hung her head, her face red, she said George's name again, this time following up with son.
うん。それでいいよ、さよちゃん。
George smiled at Shannon. No, Sayo, to praise her small act of bravery. A short exchange alone made it clear how far back the relationship must have stretched. For a long while, the two talked as if the weather were raging about them didn't even enter their thoughts. They talked about the many memories they'd built during the relationship that no one else knew about. Every once in a while, a flash of lightning would attempt to interrupt them. This could sully neither the roses nor the time they had spent blushing at each other.
So, そうだ。
No?
君に見せたいものがあって。
They're probably taking a long time for them to go to the mansion and back. Wink, wink.
何でしょうか。
Well, that's probably what the other cousins are thinking. George, who had been speaking eloquently, suddenly started to stutter. Watching him, Shannon started to guess something. George timidly searched through his pocket. Something got caught in the depths of his pocket. And just like the stuttering George, it took a little while to get it out. It was a very small box. A small box covered in a deep velvet blue. I'd put that the wrong way around, but oh well, the peculiar shape was enough to tell anyone what was resting inside. Shannon had prepared her heart somewhat, certain beforehand that this is what he'd been planning. But even so, when she actually saw it, she couldn't avoid blushing once again. George opened the small box, took something out, and held it out for Shannon to take.
これを君に受け取ってほしいんだ。
このような高価なものは、お受け取りできません。
受け取れない。
いえ、こんなもの、私には過ぎていて。
さよ、これはお願いじゃない。命令だよ。この指輪を受け取って。ね。
命令では従わなくてはなりません。
うん、そうだね。いい子だよ。
Shannon, not wanting to show her bright red face, timidly accepted the ring from George's hand while still staring at the ground. That ring wasn't a simple accessory. It was a noble object, meant since ancient times to be offered to a special woman under special circumstances. Therefore, while George could order her to take it, he could not order anything beyond that. Anything beyond that would depend not on an order, but on Shannon's, no, Sayo's own will.
だから、ここからはもう命令じゃない。さよ、明日までに言葉でない形で返事がもらいたい。わかるね。
どうすれば。
もうこれ以上は命令じゃないから、僕は君に命令。でも、指輪は指にするものだからね。気に入ってくれたなら、好きな指につけてくれればいい。
Shannon had only pretended not to know. She already understood what he wanted her to do. But she was standing at a huge crossroads of her life.
もうこんな時間だね。今夜はこれくらいにしよう。
George turned away from Shannon, acting just a bit bluntly.
君に左手につけてほしいと命令することもできるかもしれない。君も命令されればそれに従えるという臆病な甘えがあるかもしれない。でも最後のここだけは君のさよの意志でしてもらいたいんだ。わかるね。
はい。
だからそれが命令。今夜よく考えて明日その返事を見せてほしい。
Shannon nodded back. Today was the culmination of their many days spent together. This moment certainly hadn't come as a surprise to Shannon.
そろそろゲストハウスに戻ろうか。これ以上遅いとみんなを心配させちゃうよ。
すみません。そのお屋敷にいようを思い出しまして。
Except you're on duty in the guest house. She's probably just embarrassed, but yeah.
そのお屋敷へ行かねばなりません。
こんな時間に本当かな。
George stared into Shannon's face as he laughed mischievously. He definitely saw through Shannon's lie. However, when he saw how she felt, he could sort of understand that she might be so embarrassed that she'd want to be alone. So, because George realized the meaning behind Shannon's lie, he accepted it. Oh, that was quite the end of chapter. Just having that break on us. Oh, and yeah, I am over time. I didn't really notice that. In any case, I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know any feedback you have in the comments, and until next time, see ya.